Exciting morning, Africa, Nigeria, and of course, my very own Lagos. A special welcome to Ways Breakfast, hashtag what are you saying? It's a new month and a new week. Women's Week, actually, on Saturday is the International Women's Day. So throughout this week, we'll be addressing women matters, from opportunities to challenges, career, health, and empowerment. You already know, coming here every day to you, our valued viewers, it's something I look forward to. On this show, we bring to you the best conversations that shape our future, from politics to governance, leadership, everything health. We discuss technology-driven innovations and solutions, finance, and of course, trending issues are not left out. Piloting you this week morning is I, Okikiola Taiwo Jalukbo, and of course, I'm sharing the table with my best girls, Ghost, Beauty, and Oluchi. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How you guys
Good
doing?
morning.
How did you miss me?
I miss you a lot because this voice I'm hearing is not sounding Okikil like. It's too smooth, too sweet, too gentle.
Sweet, I'm gentle.
Okiki, I know is fire for fire.
It's March. It's March. How about you guys, Beauty?
I'm good. I'm excited that you're here today, and I hope you literally stay for the week there.
Please
I
don't.
Well, last week was a lot for me, and well, putting it all together, I'm glad that I'm here. To the glory of God,
And the shame of the devil.
So far they know that this one went to church on
I
Sunday.
went to how many services?
Well,
Receive the word for the Lord. That reminds me,
Hallelujah.
before we move on, there's this Monday motivation I wanted to really share with you guys before we move on.
Yes, hope.
So I should go ahead, right?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
I was listening to one of my former favorite music. I'm using former because you know that feeling where you listen to a music over time and then you get bored. And I was just listening and I remembered why I loved the music in the first place.
What song is that? I know what song
I'm
it
not
is.
going to tell you. I don't want you guys to steal my song. It's favorite and favorite for me alone. But the
You
point
should even
is,
say it's former. No.
the
The
point
things
is,
are
I
here.
remembered why I loved that music in the first place, and it brought like this, refreshment and renewal to just want to listen to it over again without the whole excitement. And no, trust me now to now try to fix one or two words for me. So I said maybe sometimes when people get frustrated in what they are doing already, if they can just remember why they even started that venture in the first place, you'll be able to go through every day as it comes. Somebody say word.
Only you want to hear yourself.
Oh man, but that's just Monday
But
motivation.
I think that makes a lot of sense
Yeah, it
because
does.
every day you have to be connected to your why.
True.
And then I think your why is the only thing that can actually
That keeps
drive
you moving, actually.
If you don't have your why, you keep going
Back and forth.
back and forth and everywhere. Well, to God be the glory.
Hallelujah.
We're here this week. Well, if you're tuning in for the first time, this is how we do it on Ways Breakfast. Remember, you're the main ingredient in this conversation. Mondays are usually about Nigeria and on the spheres of affairs. So you already know what's going to happen today. Our phone lines are open to you. Please call us on 0702 500 7749 or 0701 424 420. If you are yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV, click that subscribe button right now, like and share the link. Tune in to channel 145 on your Go TV and do not miss this. As you know, today in history is our way of increasing your wealth of knowledge. So we'll go on a break right now, and when we return, we'll return with the top stories making headlines across the globe. Please stay with us. Now today in history. Welcome back. Now let us take a look at what's making the headlines today. Today we'll be highlighting the top stories from the pages of The Punch, The Guardian, and of course the New York Times. Starting off with the New York Times this morning. Cause Beauty.
Straight up to the New York Times newspaper. Top right of the newspaper has how dinner party banter inspired federal takeover. By the left, we have allies blow up could intensify Putin's attacks. Next to that, undoing years of climate policy in a few weeks. Next, baggage and all, Kuma jumps into a crowded race for mayor. Beneath the newspaper, we have an Oscar nominee rouses Brazil's junta victims. Then the last but not the least, a Warhol, a socialite, and a loan gone wrong. So the headline I want to quickly talk on says, allies blow up could intensify Putin's attacks. And let me quickly read the details out. And it says President Trump has threatened that if Ukraine does not agree to the ceasefire immediately, it will not have to fight the ongoing war without the United States assistance. Now, the statement could significantly impact the war, potentially undermining Ukraine's position and, embodying the Russia. Now, it plays into President Putin's objective of gaining dominance in the region, right, potentially leading to further escalation of the conflict. The concern is that without United States support, Ukraine could be left vulnerable, which we all know that, and the conflict may intensify, resulting in more casualties and prolonging the war, ultimately, advancing Russia's goals at a heavy cost. So honestly speaking, this is not a good news, and we already know how Zelensky is actually feeling about this whole thing. I mean, we talked about the fact that he says he wants to, step down, and like we all agree, stepping down does not, necessarily mean that the war is going to end or is going to help the country in any way. And now Trump is saying that, now that, there's a bit of calmness and they should just agree with the whole ceasefire. But again, from Zelensky's point of view, the ceasefire doesn't stop the war in any way. Instead, it just makes it go on and go on. But will I still say that there should be a war? No, because again, just as Trump has said, the United States is not going to support them with anything. So if they want to fight, they're on their own. And we know if Ukraine decides to go back into fighting, of course they will not win this war. So there's just a bit of, it's a very dicey situation now, because what would Zelensky do? Do you understand what I'm saying? Then the fact that Zelensky has decided...
Zelensky's claim to not wanting to offer or go with ceasefire? Because,
right now, we already know that there are certain territories that the Ukraine has that is now, ruled by the Russians. Exactly. So it's not like some of our, it's just, let's say, for example, some of our things that still belong to us or is already in the hands of the Russians. So we going for a truce or ceasefire doesn't... It
means it's going to be theirs for life.
Exactly. So, there's just a whole lot of things going on. And if they decide that, I feel like right now it's a very, very dicey situation for Zelensky himself, because I'm literally putting myself in his shoes right now. It's going to be very crazy. You have Russians saying that, it's either you agree, let's take over some of your territories, and we'll probably just come to an end. We'll have a truce, and the war might just end there.
Just look at the greater cost.
Why you have Trump saying that just send in your minerals, I would help you with whatever military aid that you need. So it's like, okay, which one do we go for? One way or the other, they have to pay certain deals, So what do you guys think about the story?
So,
like I said,
honest,
it's a dicey one.
As I watched some interviews of Zelensky over the weekend, and I feel that there are some conversations that should not be public.
Right.
Especially when there's an ongoing war or there's unrest in certain areas.
Yeah.
Looking at how long Ukraine and Russia has been fighting, it's so wrong at this time, or so critical at this time, for such conversation to be public. Secondly, we already know Trump to not really be the let's do it democratically way.
Nah.
He's the it has to be an exchange. What are you giving me in return? So it still falls back to, why would someone like Zelensky want to answer somebody like Trump when he knows that Trump and Putin,
they go hand in hand.
They go hand, they are like friends.
Exactly.
In fact. So
I'm gonna disagree
on
that.
It's the truth. Do you remember last week we were talking about the fact that most of the countries that are in this war, and they know that it's not going to benefit them in any way, Trump is not going for them. It's the people that are attacking. The come of the Russia, he's with the Russian people. Come to the Gaza, he's with the Israelis. So what are you saying? What do you want?
The things I've watched or seen doesn't show that there's some sort of affiliation with Trump and Putin. I go make your research and read. I've read things, and for you to say Trump and Putin are on the same side in that sense,
no,
I
not
really
same
want
side.
to
What I'm saying is
disagree
that
on that.
Both of them are give me something.
I
I'll
feel like
give you
they're even
something
the
in
ones
return.
that are usually on loggerheads. So if there's anybody that can benefit from this, it's actually Ukraine. As somebody was saying that we're looking at this whole Trump or Donald Trump's, propaganda as just a political thing. But let's not be hypocritical in that sense. I've said it before over and over again. They would want to, everybody wants to see how to benefit from this. So it's not the United States he's trying to protect. It's somebody else, another person, not people in my own family. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
No, we don't.
So what I'm trying to say is there would be that bias. That bias is okay. And let's not make it look like Trump is trying to do something that is not democratical. It's not the United States he's protecting here. It's Ukraine. Do you understand? What I think is that
some from your country is protecting you. Because that's literally what's happening in Africa now. They've taken this, they've taken that, and they're saying that...
Is it going to give them something in return?
He's asking for his minerals and everything that belongs to Ukraine.
It's not asking for everything. It's not asking for everything. It's a negotiation that is still ongoing to see how the United States can also benefit from what's going on. It's not like they're just trying to offer free amnesty to an external country. I'm not trying to be on anybody's side here, but let us just be a bit objective in looking at this whole thing and stop making it look like Donald Trump is one undemocratic guy. Everybody's just doing what best fits them, right? It's even the person that we should be focusing on right now is Zelensky. For him to start thinking of better... Please, pardon me.
Zelensky, please.
Zelensky. Well, how did Zelensky come to mind? I think I've seen something like that, right? And how we start looking for better negotiation standpoint so that his country can be kept safe. And
please, let's move on from this conversation. I think we should say, you know that the Trumparian will always be a Trumparian.
So let us leave it.
Please take us through our local newspaper, and I will expect this type of passion from you.
God bless you.
Please. Start off with the punch,
I'm in
please.
the middle, not the best place to sit right now. But let's see what's happening on the Nigerian space. Local government autonomy. Government agencies brainstorm as direct payment suffers setback. ATM loaded with cash as 100 naira withdrawal fee begins. How buyers will get 65 naira litre refund, says Dangote Refinery. Above that, we see Fubara dismisses impeachment rumor, Rivers Elder cautions LG and federal government, pardon me. So we see here the Punch doesn't have a lot of stories, but of course the major headline is of concern with the local government autonomy stuff. You know, I'm one to like follow-up stories. So we've had conversations on this table about the whole local government autonomy thing, and the problem they are facing currently is about the implementation of this. So the problems, in fact, the problems are absurd because we're having problems with direct payment. First of all, we were fighting for this to happen because we feel like if local governments have their autonomy to their funds, you know, systems would work the way they ought to without having to focus on, you know, one arm of the government and all. Now let us go ahead to implement this thing that we thought should work. And then we're seeing delay in direct payments. There's confusion over bank accounts. There's also issues with elected officials. Like when I read the full story, I'm just trying to summarize all of them together. And at this point, it looks like I think only Delta State local governments are the ones that are ahead of this. And I'm wondering, is it that the other local governments are not seeing how this can actually benefit them and come to terms with it? Or what exactly is causing this delay in execution? I've noticed something with our system generally is that we can have great initiative and then put it all out. The press carries it. It's all over newspaper. We're talking about it. Different panels are, you know, opening it up. When it comes to executing and implementing, that's where there's usually friction. And
which is where the actual work is.
Where the actual work is. Yes, last week when I was talking about this Women's Day stuff, I told you about one person, a very known woman advocate that came out to say, we're going to see a lot of panel sessions, a lot of International Women's Day program, walk, talk, and there is no action per se. So I'm now using this to compare with what's happening. Local government autonomy stuff was supposed to kickstart, and we're having problems that seems quite frivolous because what is account that you cannot quickly solve, and why is it just one state that is taking action towards it? So I think that, you know, some of these things need to be looked out for. I mean, if the local governments themselves really wanted this for themselves, there should be nothing that should stand as a stumbling block from your own end to make it happen. If it's from their end, that's something you can't control. But from your own end, things should be set in motion. That's the story.
I've come to terms to understand that most of the things that are not working in Nigeria, there are people benefiting from it. So you're complaining about the fact that some local governments are not seeing this. And trust me, if they're not benefiting from the initial initiative, then they would have literally switched on to this one. But because they are definitely, you know, enjoying whatever thing that comes out from that initiative they have before, that's why they have an issue with change.
And that's why there was problem with the elected officials. You know,
just because of time, I want to quickly make just one comment, then I'll take one from the Guardian newspaper. Is that in out of 20 elected officials who want, let's say, who they are imposing or the government have imposed the local government autonomy on, you could find maybe 10 out of 20 of them who don't want it. So if I'm the one that's supposed to sign, be part of the signatory to a bank account, I'll keep telling you that I'm not around, I'm not around, and will possibly frustrate your efforts into making that work.
They don't want it for themselves, something that's supposed to be of benefit to them.
So there's going to still be like internal politics that's going to be happening between those elected officials.
It's a question of some people don't want it for them, so they just have to say they don't want it.
Exactly.
Looking at it face value, why shouldn't you want it?
Well, I'll quickly take one news from the Guardian newspaper, and this is about the Akpabio and Akpoti Uduaghan's, that's Natasha Uduaghan's face-off. Here it says ACL calls for probe over Akpabio Akpoti Uduaghan's face-off. This is a story that I really also want us to talk about today while we'll be talking about women in leadership, because this is a woman in leadership and this is her facing such a thing. So we have to discuss the possibilities of these things happening, the emotional roller coaster, because I had a face-off with my own dad about this issue yesterday. So it's something that I really want our guests to talk about. But, well, this is all we have on the newspaper this morning. This morning we'll be discussing women in leadership, the underrepresentation of women in leadership positions, challenges faced by women in leadership, successful women leaders who have shared their experience and insights. We'll be taking your questions and comments live on our social media platforms, so be sure to join our conversation. We'll be right back after this break. Stay tuned.
Life is made up of moments, some that fill us with joy, others that test our strength. Welcome to Heartlines. This is our space to explore the highs and lows of human connection, the love, the heartbreak, and resilience that shapes our life. From relationships to friendships, parenting to partnerships, and so much more. Every week, we share stories and conversations that define us, navigating love, separations, the struggles of parenting, dealing with anxiety and managing the pressures and stress of life. Real conversations that bring us closer, helping us heal, grow, and connect. So join me Mondays through Fridays at 10 p.m. for Heartlines, the show where we connect hearts, have real conversations with real people, one story at a time.
Welcome back to the show. Today we're discussing a quite controversial, sometimes words can be very confusing. On one hand, it's celebrated as one of many, and on the other hand, would it be so celebrated if there was a balance in gender representation? Today, as I said, we'll be talking about women in leadership, people who have broken the glass ceiling, those kind of popular saying. Statistics on underrepresentation of women in leadership positions globally and in Nigeria has been something that has been talked about from many people, from programs talking about underrepresentation to the 35% representation that was proposed to the Nigerian government. These factors include societal and cultural norms, lack of mentorship and networking opportunities, unconscious bias and stereotypes, stereotypes, limited access to education and training. Above all, even women who have all these qualifications and skills still face the wrath of underrepresentation. But today we're not just talking about the problems, we're exploring solutions. We'll be discussing the way forward from improving governance to enhancing representations and safety for women. Joining us this morning is an amazing women's rights advocate who is named Bose Ironsi. I watched in one of her interviews where she said till her last breath she's going to be fighting for women's rights, and that's so beautiful to see. Together we'll be examining the complexities of women in leadership positions, the challenges, the opportunities, and the breakthroughs. Good morning, Bose. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, ma. So let's go right into this conversation. To start off, can you share a personal experience that has shaped your perspective on women's rights and empowerment and how important representation is? Because I feel that there's a lot of things about it doesn't matter, if a woman is not there, it doesn't change anything. So I need to know like a personal experience and your perspective about women's rights and empowerment.
So thank you for having me. I want to say that the issue of women representative, the issue of women being in the leadership position, the issue of we still talking about whether it is right for women to be in leadership position and all that. It's so sad. It hurts when you hear that, and when you look at so many other parts of the world and see how women are breaking the ceiling in one way or the other. However, if you're asking me if there are instances where these issues have shaped my life, is the fact that I grew up in an environment where the culture of not giving the girl child an opportunity to thrive is all over. You can feel it, you can see it. Rather, maybe because of course, we know that there are several reasons behind this: gender bias, cultural belief systems, stereotypes, the fear of the unknown, fear that, oh no, if you give them opportunity, they would not be respectful, and all that has always been there. And I think when I interact with my mom, who is 95 years old today, I mean, in March this month, in a few days, and she tells me, well, my parents didn't want me to go too far. One, because I'm a woman, I'm the only daughter in the main, so they didn't want me to go far. And I asked, should that be an issue? Should that deprive her of, very intelligent woman, but she didn't have that opportunity to go to school, to equip herself. So all her life she was she was a farmer, and all her brothers were all over. Some were, colonel in the army, some were, the police. Some have grown so far, and her mates in a different family were able to go to school. And then she would tell me, one of my classmates is a teacher. I want to imagine now, And then at this age, when she's getting old, you hear her saying something about, oh, if I have gone to school, if I have been able to do, achieve some of these things, I'm seeing young people going, And then there are all that belief system and the kind of discrimination that they went through, issues about female genital mutilation, lack of education, no finance. It's like and an organized crime because they are women. So when I see that, I feel, no, I cannot be in this environment. I cannot, it is not going to be possible. So, and then growing up, I decided that I must change that narrative. And that is what is pushing me. And of course, along the line, there was this particular case of a woman whom I met at Oshodi bus stop. I knew as a qualified nurse then, about maybe about 30 years ago, I was going to work and I met this lady. I can feel that this lady is not well, but she was selling akara. She was at that busy Oshodi bus stop, hotty, doing akara, still talking. Then after a while, she would sit down, feel so tired. So I woke up to her and said, Mama, are you sure you are taking care of her? I said, I'm taking care. My daughter died and left 4 kids, and here I am. I have to take care of them, and I still have to. So I was just wondering. Then I used to go with my Spig and measuring the BP. So I said, Mama, just sit down. Let me. He said, they have told me that the BP is very high. So I will take care. Where is my drug? Let me take some. Down the line, after several weeks, I went through that space again. I never found that woman. So I just asked somebody there. I said, Mama has passed on.
Wow.
So that created fear in me to say, what? That woman wanted to make sure that that gap probably she had never happened to those children and to maybe her own other children. And that is why she has to work till she died. So I found that there's need to enter the community, interact with women to prioritize their health. And that led to one of the reasons why I founded Women's Rights and Health Projects, which means that women need to prioritize their health and they need to also know that they have rights to some certain things, that concerns them.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much. And it's awesome that you are speaking from wealth of experience. I mean, hearing over 30 years and listening to what Okiki said before, how that's something you're committed to. You mentioned that even if it's your last breath, right, till your last breath, pardon me, that you're going to keep up with this cause. But then I have a very important question. And it's more like a solution-driven question because I want our conversations to be really solution-driven. There have been conversations about how, the male counterparts, institutional male allies can also be part of this change. So my question is just very direct. I want to ask, with your experience, do you see how the involvement of men leading this change can actually take us a step further from where we are currently? Or do you think it should just be, of course, I know the first answer will be, of course, it shouldn't just be women, but I want to ask, how can men become allies and, not just oppositions, but strong allies to ensure that this change is actually driven? Because sometimes I feel like when the onus lies on the women alone, it makes the progress a bit slow, just stifled, just here and there, because there's still that male counterpart that has not been sorted. So I'm asking, who should actually drive this change, or how much of men's involvement do we need to see? And based on your experiences so far, can you tell us, examples of when you actually had some involvement with some male counterpart and the progress it brought so far, and how we can use such examples to drive further the involvement of men in driving this change as well?
Thank you so much. First, I need to say that what you have seen over years, seeing some of us coming out to talk about women, girls' empowerment, and all that, has been generations of women abandonment, generation of discrimination against the girl child and women, and how there was serious need to change the narrative. However, when you are talking about the girl child, the boy child, the men, the women, they are all products of the society. They are all products of the narrative, the stereotypes, the way culture has perceived us to be. So, but however, I also feel that I have always believed that we need to engage the men from the very beginning, because you cannot, God has given us 2 hands. You cannot, and you have the 2 hands. There is need for you to make use of the 2 hands, because 1 hand cannot actually do the work alone. But what has happened is that over years, we have always believed there is need to empower the second hand that have been disempowered. But it's beginning to be clear that there is need to make the two hands work hand in hand. So when I established my organization 17 years ago, one of the area I looked at was, if I need to change the narrative, I need to speak with the people, I need to interact with the people that has the power to change the narrative. If I'm saying that women should be given the opportunity to be at position of authority, position of being empowered and all that, it then means I need to go and change the belief system of men, the way they perceive us, the way they perceive their daughters, the way they perceive their wives, the way they perceive their mothers. And so, because of that, I actually work with men for the past years. And I will tell you, there are a lot of success stories working with men and working with women. There was a research that was done some years ago, which I was part of, and that was about 30 years ago, when HIV/AIDS came into this country, and we were among those who were working with community people to say, use the condom to avoid, multiple sexual partners and all that. Of course, the power base was on the men. But we also discovered that the women don't also even have the power to go and negotiate with their husband, even when they know that the men are moving around, moving around, having multiple sexual partners. So, and the women will come to us, madam, after giving them that product, they will come back and tell us, how do I communicate this to my husband? First, the society believes that the man has monopoly over, can have so many multiple sex partners. There was nothing wrong with that. And then, if she dared try to do that, you will see the society, the same group of people will say, you want to be controlling the man and all that. So what did we do differently? We decided to say, okay, let's start this intervention with the men and start telling them the implications of, making sure that that product is used. Then I transfer that into the fact that I need to talk to men to understand the rights of women. To understand the rights of women and making sure that women appreciate, men appreciate that first, the women have rights. Two, they are human beings. They are human beings first before every other thing. And so you cannot sideline them when it comes to areas of empowerment. You cannot sideline them in areas of not protecting them. And it worked. Over years, for example, in Alimosho, that we have worked for the past 12 years, men are my mandated reporters. They are the one who reports issues of sexual and gender-based violence to me, to the organization. And I will give you one recent example. Recently, the First Lady decided that, okay, so we are going to kind of give palliative to community group because of the the high inflation and all that. One of the local government chairmen reached out to us to say, Mrs. Ironsi, I know that we are going to talk to market women and all that, but specifically, I would need you to send me 20 names of women who have suffered violence in one form or the other. That tells me that, one, they are beginning to appreciate the fact that women need to be, need that kind of help, or they need to be taken into consideration. They are trying to put women into their own agenda. But that also tells me that the years that I have worked with them is paying off, because I mean, they could have just shared it among every other person without specifically not talking about women. And then on the day of when my psychosocial support Ireti Resource Center became 1 year, I was amazed. The men gathered and they came and gave us a cake. And I was wondering, one of the men was the one who told me, no, madam, you are coming to, say something in my community that I don't like. How can you be talking about women empowerment in this community? Down the years, after 5, 6 years, he is our serious advocate. He is the one that will tell me, report these cases. So they are there. It's just about how do we negotiate this power. Don't forget, there are also, some of them are also victims of the same cultural belief system. I'll give you an example. When children were growing up, no female child was given a football to play. Very few, if we look into our society. But the male children were given football. In short, their father will even see them up to the field to play football. But down the line, we have seen in Nigeria today that Nigerian girls are making us proud in terms of representation in the game of football. But we know that game of football is about leadership. How do you bring, who do you interact with? Who is the best position to score? Who are the team players that you can interact with? It's about leadership skills. Knowing when to move, who to interact with. We never thought that football was a leadership skill. Until now we are beginning to say, oh no, girls can also play. But we have seen the wonders that they are doing. So also is the fact that we must engage both parties in terms of every aspect of our life. Leadership, leadership roles, being very, very, very intentional in making sure that women are included in every decision-making. And not just being at the table, in most times being at the table, it's as well, because we have the skills. Women have the skills to engage. Women have the skills to empathize. They see themselves as at the end of the day, it is us that face the brunt of any decisions that are not taken well. Go to the hospitals. Women are dying as a result of no drugs. Women are dying because you have no good doctors, or not that there are no good doctors, very few doctors, because a lot of people. Those are decisions that if government have taken time, they will know that if we don't come, deal with this issue now, it's going to affect a lot of us. So these are issues. This is what I have done over years that have worked so well, engaging men to address issues that affect women. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma, for all your contributions, and I like that you have added, personal experiences to it. We'll go on a break right now, and when we return, we'll, dive deeper into these issues facing women and how we can address them properly. Please.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways What Are You Saying has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.
Welcome back to the show, guys. So this has been an insightful conversation. She has mentioned the issues with women. She has mentioned the importance of male allies, and mentioned how she personally have been able to, address these issues and help the male counterparts and even women be more communicative towards an approach for a gender balance situation. But we need to talk about some of the things that are still very apparent, and that is the issue of violence against women and girls. And there's been one that has been so prevalent in the news about the Natasha and Senator Akpabio's issue. We have 4 women in the Senate, and it's almost like these are like the mini gods that we now have in the Senate that have managed to get to that level of one of the highest seats in the country. But now this is somebody calling another, the Senate president out, the same male gender that should be informed about, balance, that you have allegedly sexually harassed me in one form or the other. While I cannot, to be fair, I cannot say that, okay, she's right or she's wrong. But let's look at it this way. Over the weekend, I saw so many news about somebody saying that it's not that deep. There's no one that has not faced sexual harassment before. It's not the first time. So why is he trying to make it a big deal? And we have seen some say that it is a trivial issue to be discussing in the Senate House. But I'm looking at it, has it now come to the fact that anything can happen, or you should take it all just because you are a woman in a high position? Because this is talking about leadership. So let's assume that I'm at the topmost of maybe an organization, and I'll see that maybe someone I share my maybe as a vice president, maybe I'm the vice president of the team, and the president himself is the one that is sexually harassing me. Do you think just because I'm trying to stay as the only woman, or there's a need for balance, I'm not going to take all that heat coming from the person?
I feel so terrible when I hear people's narrative about Natasha. And it shows how much we have accepted a behavior that we shouldn't even think of. So, and it also goes back to the fact that the value and the worth that is placed on the girl child, to the level to where she has gotten to, is the value. If you know her history, and so many women, you will know that they struggle. They really have to have a good spirit of resilience to be able to get to where they are. So I'm not surprised. In short, I would be surprised if this kind of bashing does not come to them. But again, I'm not also surprised. For the past 35 years I'm being in this field, I know what the girl child in the family faces. All the social structures within this community, within this society, is geared towards making one sex less human than the other. because we are living in a patriarchal society where we see one group much more relevant than the other. And so, what Akpoti should have done, Natasha should have done, is to just keep quiet and go along with the president or the Senate president, and then she gets what she gets, and if the man doesn't want again, he can trash her and all that. That is what the society is comfortable with. But we have a soul who has said, no, I'm not allowing this to go down. And I think from her own singular pronouncements and out, first, Bose Ironsi, as a women's rights and health organization, I believe her. Let me tell you why I believe her. If a father can sexually sex his a 7-year-old child or a 13-year-old child or impregnate a 12-year-old child, what do you expect? We have seen the cases of lecturers sexually molesting students. We have seen cases of religious people who are supposed to be spiritual fathers sexually abusing our girls. We have seen brothers sexually. So, is it at that level? But I'm also very happy. I won't say happy in the sense that Natasha did not keep quiet, so that people will know that this issue about sexual exploitation and abuse and harassment is at every level.
Exactly, I agree.
And until we deal with it, rather than hiding, rather than trying to cover up, because this is what we have been doing over years. You see a young girl going to the market, and somebody is saying, brother, come, girl, come and buy. And then he's touching her body and all that. That's an insult. That's an harassment. And of course, until we are in a position to say this is not what we want, until we are in that decision level to say this is unacceptable to us, then we will still as well just continue. It happens in all aspects of our lives. So, I'm not surprised that people are talking about it. I'm not surprised at all. That is the society that we are.
Ma, I'm
the question you will ask, are there policies even to protect?
Ma, I'm especially bothered about the fact that people who have come out to talk about this issue, for example, Senator Kinigbe in the Senate also is talking about my daughter. And I want you to address this in a way that sometimes when women are they're both in leadership positions where there can be age differences, there's still that thing where somebody needs to be subdued some way. There's still this I have to be here and you have to be here thing. So it was a sad thing watching the interviews over the weekend. One person saying that Senator Akpabio makes a lot of joke, he can joke about it. I don't think that sexual harassment is a joke. And I'm very passionate about this thing because I know that for someone like me who has gone into politics and even different businesses to start with, I've experienced sexual harassment on different levels. And I'm not even talking about just politics. And I like that she's talking about it so that you have rightly mentioned that it happens on all levels. So for other people and other women in particular coming out to say she should have told us, or it is a trivial issue, or it is this, it's quite sad. So how do we address this issue of other women? Now we're now looking at men have come out to maybe this thing happens like that. But now we now have women issues where women don't also see that. They feel that you should shut up when you are being sexually harassed because the position you have gotten is by luck or by the grace of God. So because you have to keep it, you have to keep the things that you are facing that are not even right to start with. So how do we address these women who are now saying that because she came out to say that she's been sexually abused or she's been sexually harassed, she's wrong for saying that, and it's a trivial issue. I'll also mention, Ma, that they brought out some news on Twitter where she was saying that she accused Renaud Mockery, she did that, she did this, she did that. And I said for a fact that you cannot tell somebody that there's a limit to how many times you can experience sexual harassment in a male-dominated field. If you go to bank, you can be sexually harassed by the manager just because you are looking for a particular document. If you go to politics, you can be harassed by the chairman just because he wants to introduce you to something. So just because I said it or I'm being open about it does not mean that I'm always the victim. It is the reality of today. So I really need you to address what kind of things should we say, because the kind of things I want to say might not be I don't know how to put it, might not be a respectful statement. So I would, from your wealth of knowledge,
when somebody has infringed on your rights, there's nothing called respect. Respect about what? So, like I said, I am not surprised. When you are talking about corruption, people always think that corruption is about money. There's corruption of character. There's corruption of integrity. There's corruption of people seeing the truth and not facing it. We have seen daughters, we have seen children who are destroyed because people have asked them, calm down, relax, that's not the way to go about it. Am I not your mother? Am I not your senior? That has not led us to anything. In short, we are still where we are today, and that is why there's this uproar when it has never happened for people at that level to come out and cry. I want you to imagine the woman in the farm, the woman in the market, the woman in one corner of this. Not even talking a woman who can probably talk. I'm talking of the girl child and all that. So, for her, for Ironsi baby, well, it's unfortunate. She has right to her opinion. Natasha has her own right to her own opinion. Me, if you tell me this is what has happened to me, I will believe you first. The cases have gone to court. Let that channel take its due course. Whether they were friends, of course, when I hear that, well, they are good friends, they are good family friends, is it strangers that come to do what evil things around what we have been saying for the past years? It's not usually strangers, it's people that you are close to. So for Ironsi Kingibe waiting for Akoti to come and kneel down and say, Mommy, this is what has happened. It's unacceptable. And I think that they should know that that age has passed. We have people, I'm not saying there should be disrespect in terms of how you talk to people, but at the same time, your expectation of a child who is crying, who is not, pleading for an abuse, for her to have respected to say it's my mother, father, I expected more from her to say this is not what we want. Going further to say that, there are women. Occupying position of authority, of space, is not that you are totally representing women. That must be clear. There are women who are there, they are there for their own selfish end and not for the rights of women. Because if you are there for the rights of women, sexual harassment should not be something you should come out to the air and say, no, it didn't happen. Or she should have come to report to you. I don't think so. So going forward, first, let's deal with this issue about believing in anybody that says this is what has happened to me until it is proven otherwise. 2, intergenerational responsibility is also the role of the older one and the younger one. This cultural belief, this cultural representation or expectations, that is why you will see a mother will be in a battered relationship for years. And he goes to the family to say, my husband is almost killing me. To say, go back. Did you know what your dad did to me? Go and stay there. This thing has been like that for years. Should we allow it to continue? We have seen Osinachi died because she was in a battered relationship. She didn't come out to speak. And what they don't know is that when children born in that community, in that family, they end up being children that are not organized, maladjusted children with different forms of attitude and behavior that the society will not be happy with. So of what use are you in a relationship that you are not happy?
Thank you so much, Bose.
So I didn't expect that from my from Ireti. I didn't expect that at all. She should have had a different attitude, or she should have just been quiet and call her personally and say, what happened? That is if she's willing to talk to anybody about it.
All right, thank you so much, Bose. So in a minute, let's talk about, actionable future solutions. You made mention of, policies that should be implemented so that the likes of Natasha can probably get the help that, that is needed. So in a minute, right, because you really don't have time, what do you think are those policies that need to be implemented in order for we to see, women representation in leadership, to be upscaled than where it is right now?
Okay, so first of all, the leadership position needs to immediately undergo comprehensive safeguarding policy training. That's the beginning. There is need for intensive safeguarding training, comprehensive safeguarding training on sexual exploitation, harassment, and abuse immediately. And then there should be a policy infused in their code of conduct. And then that should also trickle down to all levels.
Thank you so much.
I am
the
local African partner of safeguarding in Nigeria. And I'm willing to help any group that calls us, even in your own organization. Do you have safeguarding policy in your organization that protects you from sexual harassment?
This is going to be a personal conversation that we're going to have after the show.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Ma, for this insightful conversation. I really appreciate you. And to my co-anchors, thank you for your service and time as always. And to our viewers, thank you for joining us on this critical conversation. Another day is tomorrow for you to join us talking about other things. Do ensure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Bye-bye.